Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Illinois Freedom Caucus Town Hall and Roundtable. This is our weekly edition where we try to give you the latest and the greatest of what's going on in Springfield and the state and around the nation. So tonight I've got Representative Chris Miller, the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, and Dan Calkins from Macon County, the treasurer of the Freedom Caucus, and Colin Mosley, the state director for the Illinois Freedom Caucus. Welcome, gentlemen. What's going on? Chrissy?
Well, it's great to be here. We celebrated the death, burial, and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ this past weekend, and it was an awesome time to fellowship with our church family as well as our is it okay to say biological family? But anyway, we had a great weekend, and looking forward to this discussion that we're going to have today.
Excellent. Dan, what's new in your neighborhood?
Not too much. We're on a 2-week break here and trying to take a little downtime, catch up on things around the house and a bunch of chores. Trying to get my Bonneville Salt Flats truck ready to go this late summer, and working on constituent things, obviously, every day. People calling about DCFS and concealed carry. FOID cards are still an issue. A lot of things up in the air. This is going to be a big week for Illinois. The Southern District is going to hear oral arguments this week, and I think the state court in Springfield is also going to hear oral arguments on the FOID card case. So this could be a big week in the legal world for Illinois and the Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And Colin, you're our state director. You're the link between us and the network and all the other state caucuses around the nation. What's new? What's going on in your neighborhood?
Well, I'm excited about lots of great news that we're going to share today about State Freedom Caucus Network. Like Chris said, had a great weekend celebrating Easter at our church with our families and reminding ourselves that all of this that we do is for the glory of God, our Creator. So it was just a great weekend to remember that. One more week here, not in Springfield, then back into the Lions Den next week.
Right. Well, and always, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a relentless pursuit of the truth and the logic and the common sense, which seems to be in a vacuum in Springfield. And so hopefully for the next 25, 30 minutes or so, we're going to bring that to you. We're going to show you kind of what's going on, not only in Illinois, but across the nation. And with that, we're going to bring up the first slide, and we're just going to kind of talk about some accomplishments and what's going on with the State Freedom Caucus Network across the nation. And gentlemen, you can, if there's points there, or Colin, just jump in anywhere. But what is the State Freedom Caucus Network? And Colin, you have a point there. Maybe you want to, as we get kicked off here.
Yeah, sure thing, Brad. The State Freedom Caucus Network, like it says on our slides there, we understand that the states are increasingly where the battleground is. This fight for conservative values and American principles is being fought on the battlefronts of our states. And so the State Freedom Caucus Network exists to promote the creation and foster the existence of freedom caucuses across the country. We just launched another state. We'll talk about that later. And so that's kind of who we are. We exist to be the guiding principles and staff and structure of the conservative North Stars of the General Assemblies across the country, like the Illinois Freedom Caucus is here in our state.
Right. So, guys, this effort started well over 2 years ago. Dan and Chris, you and I, all three of us, we were in Georgia in December of 2021. Georgia, I believe, was the first state to roll out. Is that correct?
Yep, that was the first state to actually get chartered and roll out as an active State Freedom Caucus under the national umbrella. Was a monumental occasion. I had everybody down there. It was a big deal at the Capitol, and it was exciting and kind of fired us up to get our stuff together.
Yeah, nearly a day-long event, well attended.
Right.
through your leadership, Illinois rolled out I think Illinois was the 5th state, and that happened in May of 2022, right?
Yeah, May the 5th up at the Trump Hotel in Chicago, Illinois. That was quite a high water mark for all of us. I know that, a lot of people ask why the Illinois Freedom Caucus, and I think that one thing that and actually the Freedom Caucus Network, I know in Illinois, this came to birth because of because our party seemed to be sliding left and going away from their defining documents. And I know that, at least in my mind, one of the reasons why the Illinois Freedom Caucus came to birth is to try to draw the party back to the Constitution as well as the Republican Party platform and use that as a rally cry. Because you have to have to rally around something, and I think that those two defining documents are, we as a party, what we need to rally around.
Right. Exactly. So, gentlemen, let's get started here. We're going to talk first about some accomplishments in the state of Arizona. And I don't know where Arizona fits into the hierarchy of when they came into the network, but it's been since December of 2021. But you can see here, and Dan or Chris, if there's any points there that you want to talk about, what the work is that's going on in Arizona. And we got a few more slides like this about the various states of why these freedom caucuses in these state houses are important.
Well, I think you can see here, obviously, in Arizona, the Republicans have a majority when we have a Freedom Caucus member serving as the chair of a committee. And, we're also, I think this slide points out the push across the country for this ranked choice voting. I know they're doing it in Illinois. I don't know if we'll see it or not. But another bad idea that just won't seem to die. The Democrats are intent on doing everything they can, every opportunity they can to make sure that the elections are conducted in their favor. So congratulations to Arizona Freedom Caucus.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And, so the next thing I think we want to talk about is Idaho. And Chris, Idaho seems to be kind of ramped up, and they're getting a lot of stuff done out there on multiple levels.
Well, it's not a big surprise with Idaho, and I can't imagine what it would be like to be in a red state where you actually could make policy to positively impact the citizens in your state. But I think that the legislation needs to be continued to be brought up to protect children from indoctrination and wokeism. It would be so wonderful if Illinois could be a place where woke goes to die, and the wokeification of our students and our culture, because we're a sinking ship if we can't pull out of this tailspin that we're in, and all the reassignment surgeries and all that. I think I heard some data the other day that there 44,000 minors being in the process of being having reassignment surgery, and and this is all because of the radical ideology of the extreme left. And and it's like you mentioned earlier that we would like to consider ourselves as a place of truth, logic, and common sense, and as well as even the book bannings that they want to stand up and stomp about. I mean, it would be completely illogical to think that most parents want their children exposed to all of the radical sex ed curriculum. When kids are young, they just need to be kids.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think that Idaho is doing a great job of pushing back on things that we could take a lesson from.
Yeah, exactly right. Gentlemen, next up is the state of Mississippi, getting some national attention out of Mississippi, trying to engage grassroots in the process. And Dan or
Well, this is another example. Obviously, Mississippi is a red state. They've got some, as our Freedom Caucus Network people like to tell us, just because you have a red, a Republican General Assembly doesn't necessarily mean conservative action gets taken. But the Freedom Caucus is why I think it is so important, especially in states like Mississippi, where the Freedom Caucus will push back on the rhinos, so to speak, or less conservative Republicans. So you can see that, again, they're fighting this gender reassignment stuff in Mississippi. You'd never think that a state like Mississippi, that the radical left would try to push that kind of legislation. So, we're really cheering on the guys and gals down in Mississippi.
Yeah. It probably doesn't really much matter where you are in the nation. The woke ideology, the election integrity stuff, it's trying to make impacts regardless of which party controls each state house. So they're working hard on elections, and yeah.
Well, I want to quickly, echo something that Dan said from a network perspective, and that is that the red states sometimes have been the states that are the most hesitant about acting like conservative Republicans, because they've been able to be content and complacent, and all leaders are standing up and saying, that's no longer going to work for us. The Freedom Caucuses, if we exist to do anything, one of the first things is to disrupt business as usual. And that's what's happening in these states. And another evidence of that is the fact that, we've grown to 11 states, but there are far more states than that are Republican majority. But it's putting in this, sort of tilling and planting effort to get Republicans to step up and be proud of being conservatives and start those Freedom Caucus Network chapters. And that is happening. We're seeing projected growth still by the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. So next up is the newest state is Louisiana, just rolled out in the last week or 10 days, I believe. Colin, is that right?
Yes, Louisiana launched last week with several members of their legislature and with great support from other states and their federal members of Congress as well, just like we have Mary Miller supporting us here in Illinois.
Yeah, exactly. Hey guys, the next one is South Carolina, and South Carolina made news early this spring when there was kind of, I guess I'm going to say, division within the Republican Party. Colin, you touched on this. Even in the red states, there's still a need for a Freedom Caucus because of the complacency, and maybe they've fallen into kind of this establishment idea that, hey, we're just going to go along to get along. But here's a state that caught some national attention for what was going on within their own House Republican caucus.
We've been following this story for a couple of months here, and can you imagine a Republican-controlled General Assembly wanting to pass some kind of I don't know what you want, loyalty oath that you could not publicly call out, members of the Republican Party who failed to follow the platform, failed to follow the Constitution, failed to live up to their obligations. I mean, I was stunned when we first heard about this. Fortunately, the National Freedom Caucus Network is on this thing, and they're pushing back hard against the South Carolina Republicans. And Colin, we've been a little behind the curve here for the last couple of weeks because of being in Springfield. But how are the national reps? Have we heard anything from their Congress people or their to the two state senators from South Carolina? Because I know they're Republican. Is there anything coming out of DC to help push back?
there are things coming out of DC in support of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus for sure, and those Freedom Caucus members that serve congressionally from that state. I would have to look into seeing if there's anything specifically that's been done, but I know that the efforts in DC are to continue to blast this, because those people have given us as a network access to their media channels, and they've been sharing these stories, and that's how we ended up with Freedom Caucus, state Freedom Caucus members and staff on national media outlets like Fox and Newsmax and Glenn Beck, because of this stuff being shared. So yeah, no, the House Freedom Caucus in Congress is in support of South Carolina Freedom Caucus fighting this pledge, because they see it too. This is the same thing that happened when with these congressional rules negotiations, where they're fighting the same fight that we are in the states.
It's pretty incredible to me that it's like we've said many times, Democrats fight Republicans and Republicans fight Republicans. I mean, you would never see this kind of division on the other side of the aisle, because they have a rally point that they're all rallying around, and I quite frankly don't understand why not every member of every General Assembly wouldn't want to be a Freedom Caucus member if they embrace the Constitution and the Republican Party platform, like we have proclaimed that's what we're trying to draw people back to. Why? I don't get it. There's a real disconnect there for me.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, Chris. When we're out about or just individually, people come up to us and they state those same things. It's like, why aren't Republicans on the same page about this? And that's really concerning to a lot of people. And I think that's why the State Freedom Caucus network is growing. I think that's why our effort is growing. And yeah.
Good.
Hey, next to last slide here we got, guys. This is just showing a national map of the different states that are now a part of the network. And so you can see there from one side of the nation to the other. It's not all of them, but it is growing. And Colin and gentlemen, I think it is. They are forecasted to be at 15 or 20, maybe. Is that right? Am I hearing that right? By the end of the year, end of 2023?
Correct.
Yeah. So this effort will continue to grow all across the nation. So the last slide is just how you can get in touch with us at Illinois Freedom Caucus.org and on Facebook. And we all have individual pages where you can find us on Facebook and YouTube and the like. And I'm going to try to put up here we go. So as always, it's important to get the message out, and it's really valuable when all of you will like and share and follow and subscribe to our content. And Colin, you work behind the scenes for a weekly e-news that goes out with the latest and the greatest information. And tell us, Colin, we have a membership plan. Is that right? People can become, I mean, I hear it every day. Hey, how can we help you? How, as an individual citizen, can we get involved with the Illinois Freedom Caucus? Colin, tell us what we need to do, or what our supporters can do there to help us out when it comes to being a part of this effort here in Illinois.
Yeah, absolutely. We have an opportunity for you to be a card-carrying member of the Freedom Caucus. So we have, as a Freedom Caucus, we have legislative members, and then we have citizen members. And so we have different levels of donation opportunities for you to be a member, and they all come with their own set of perks. These membership cards allow you to get into events with express check-in, lapel pins and paraphernalia, VIP photo shoot opportunities with our guests at events. And again, and it's also an opportunity for you to give to an organization that is standing up for your rights and fighting for conservative values in Springfield. So I think Brad maybe has a flyer or a website to pull up for that. It's again, IllinoisFreedomCaucus.org, where you can find the different donation levels and information. Yep, right there.
Right there. So you can go to this page. It's IllinoisFreedomCaucus.org, and I would assume /membership, but you find it there. There's a membership tab on the home screen, take you right up there, and you can see the different levels in which to get involved with, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And so then they'll get this nice handy card and back in the mail. So that's
It'll have your name on it, not Collins, though.
Correct.
I wanted one with Colin's name on it. So maybe, yeah. So anyhow, that's another great way to be involved. Yeah. So the other thing too, for folks that maybe aren't in our respective districts, Chris, the members that when we came into the General Assembly, or the founding members, was you and Dan, myself, Blaine Wilhauer, and Adam Niemerg. We've added a couple this spring.
Yeah.
David Fries and Jed Davis. And so if your representative out there is not a part of that, I would encourage you guys and gals to talk to your elected reps to be a part of the Illinois Freedom Caucus. And, you know, we're trying to get the word out. You know, we've laid out our legislative agenda. You can go back on our social media sites. You can see where we've laid out our agenda, and we continue to work on that. And we're doing live and in-person town halls and roundtables all across the district and all across the state. And you're going to see more of that as the spring comes through and throughout the summer. But anyhow, guys, I just encourage you to go to the website, become a member, and again, like and share and follow and subscribe to our content. With that, let's just kind of wrap it up with some closing comments. Colin, anything that we missed? And then we'll go to Dan and then Chris to close us out.
Nope, I think we covered everything. Just highlighting the accomplishments, but I'm going to steal Chris Miller's catchphrase that the fight for freedom never ends. And so, just when you think one battle is over, the next one begins, and the Freedom Caucus is happy to keep fighting that battle. And I would just encourage you all in our final weeks here of session coming up in Springfield that you would follow us and see what's going on at the Capitol.
Exactly. Dan.
Well, thank you very much. Good to be here this evening. Yeah, we're putting together, I think, 7 or 8 town halls all across Illinois here in the coming months. I know there are organizations that have asked us to come and participate in their meetings. So if you belong to an organization that you'd like to have one or all of us show up, please let Colin know, IllinoisFreedomCaucus.org. And we'll do everything we can to fit it into our schedule. Can't promise that all of us show up at one time, but generally 3 or 4 of us will make it a point, to be able to clear our calendars to get to visit with you. It's very, very important that we get out all over the state of Illinois to carry this message that Illinois can do better, and we're going to stand here and fight for you and push for the things that are going to make Illinois great again. So give us a shout out. Let us know if we can come and, hang out in your neighborhood for an evening sometime.
Yeah, exactly. And an email address is just info@IllinoisFreedomCaucus.org is a good way just to send us a direct email, just info@IllinoisFreedomCaucus.org. Chris Miller, the chairman, the visionary of the Illinois Freedom Caucus. Thanks for being the standard bearer and the flag waver to put this thing together a year and a half ago. Close us out, if you would, please.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining in. I know that, we're right in the middle of the fire on almost every day, fighting a battle on 2 fronts with the radical Democrats, as well as some of our colleagues on our side of the aisle, unfortunately. But I think as time goes on and the vision that we have for Illinois gets cleared up, that I think that we're going to have more and more people rally around the cause for freedom and liberty. And and we're really looking forward to that time. I know that it's important for us to be vigilant, and I know that the guys that are members of the Freedom Caucus right now, they will never be intimidated, and they never will be bought by any of the special interest groups like so many have fallen victim to. But I think that all that, having said that, it all begins with your vision and what you expect out of your legislators here in Illinois. And I know that at least our guys, I've mentioned this before, we have a true north and a plumb line that we are never going to waver from. And that's the Word of God, the Constitution, and the Republican Party platform. You know, and I think it'd be a healthy exercise for everybody to read those three defining documents, because all of those things will lead to good public policy, and they will begin the slow process of crawling out of the bad idea factory that we see there at the at the Capitol in Springfield. But anyway, I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and be safe, you turkey hunters out there, and may the long ears be gobbling.
Excellent. Gentlemen, thanks. It's been a great evening here as we've discussed these things that are going on as a part of the network and what's going on in the state of Illinois. We again appreciate you joining in. And with that, we are going to close out and sign off.